Link. Refresh. Where is it? Is it not started? No, it's going. Okay, cool. Just get it. Just lay it on the old. There it is. All right, let's get this thing going. Just like always, too, we'll start with the intro music, and then we'll go from there. And then, all right, so that's done. That's been shared on Twitter. I'm going to share it through mine. Mm-hmm. And then if you want to get yours. And I got a hankering to talk some sports, music, and movies on a Sunday night. I thought I grabbed that. Oh, I didn't. Oh, yeah, I did. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Almost done. This is what Aldo always is doing.
Yes.
When we're like, what are you doing, Aldo? All right, so Eternals, French Dispatch.
And I figured out who Aldo reminds me of.
Who?
Anthony Rendon.
Oh. Interesting.
Look at the two of them.
They look very similar?
Sorry. Yes.
Typing. There we go. Well, got it. All right. And share. Okay, cool.
All
right, so we'll start. I'll do we'll start with the music. Oh, look, it's Jack and his calves. He's in the chat. In the chat. And Yumper in the chat. All right.
Hi, Jack. Hi, Yumper.
Got to hydrate. Must have some Zavatos. Must drink the waters. All right, so we'll get started. I'm going to hit record and start with the intro. And then once we get back, just count to 5 and start it up. This, of course, would always be preceded on the Spotify and iTunes version with a phone call message from Yeah Dog. So
yes,
it's a much better beginning with Yeah Dog. But all right, here we go. 4, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
It's time for The Tainted Glove, starring your favorite man of questionable character, Aloha Mr. Hand.
Hey, bud, let's party.
And the Holy Reverend KFidds himself. It's go time, so grab a beer, grab a bite, and settle in. It's time for The Tainted Glove.
Aloha. Welcome to The Tainted Glove. I am, of course, your friend with questionable character, Aloha Mr. Hand, and today is Sunday night, November 7th. Of course, we are broadcasting on Sunday night because for some reason, my partner KFidds and I are both masochists who want to watch the Bears tomorrow night. Why? I have no clue. But with that, KFidds, take it away.
And masochist, and I had to take a double take. I'm like, a what? A what? Like in Jaws, when they're like, it's a great what? It's a tiger shark. A what? Thanks for good evening, everybody, or afternoon, or whatever time you listen to this. But thanks for tuning in. We had a 1-week hiatus. I was off in San Diego last week, and last Monday I had some doggy trouble. My doggy was a little bit under the weather after we got back from our trip. So welcome back. It's been 2 weeks, or actually 13 days since the last time you guys got to see us here. But welcome. Got a good show for you guys tonight. We're going to talk about the qualifying offer, White Sox stuff with Carlos Rodon and the fallout of all the qualifying offers extended or not extended over the league and how that affects both the Cubs and the White Sox. We're going to talk about the Bears on Monday Night Football, the expectations for the performance to go along with obviously how they played last week with Justin Fields slowly starting to open up and get a little bit more opportunity with Matt Nagy with COVID out, not on the sidelines. And then, of course, this week with the Monday Night Football game, We're going to delve into a little bit of one of the best Saturday Night Live sketches last night with making fun of what we'll talk about a little bit, the Aaron Rodgers situation where Aaron has got himself into a little bit of a hot water, a little polarizing stuff. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to talk about my last night, my experience at the Rolling Stones concert here, the last Rolling Stone concert here in Las Vegas ever, actually. So that was an interesting and a really great experience. I don't remember the much of leaving. That was the best part about it, though. Edibles ran strong, but the show was great. And then we'll talk a little bit about some movies. We'll talk about Eternals, Last Night in Soho, French Dispatch, Harder They Fall. Pete's going to go see a special screening of a director's cut later on this week that's 40 minutes longer than the original one that made us all want to go out and punch our couches when we were kids. And hate Russians, apparently.
Yes.
Know that you can change. He can change. We can all change. Sorry.
If he dies, he dies.
So we'll get into all that stuff and all that and probably a bunch of other insane banter. So if you are here, thanks for tuning into the chat too. And I guess let's get right to it, man. The White Sox today and Major League Baseball.
Wait. Before you start, I got to make a special announcement.
Oh, yeah. We have a special announcement. That's right.
Yes. So last week, part of the reason why we weren't broadcasting was because I was out of town. And you might have seen my tweets where I was playing in the Johnny Bench Golf Classic. A fun time was had by all, but I did not. That was on Sunday, on Halloween. And I had the good fortune to finish up on the golf course, go to the party, and then come back to my hotel room to watch the Bears. But there's another part to the story. I actually drove. This was in West Palm Beach. I actually drove over to Port St. Lucie, where the Mets have spring training. And I met with Steve Cohen to discuss the Mets GM position because no one else wants it. And after pitching my ideas and telling them what they need to do, I'll just say I'm removing my name from the list too, because it's obvious that they have no idea what the hell they're doing. And I can now understand why all these people are running away and hiding from this position. So I will not be under consideration any longer for the Mets GM position. So I will be here with you on this podcast.
That's great to hear. And that means New York will still not be sending a GM to the GM meetings.
That is correct.
This upcoming week. So they're TBD. We'll call it TBD.
But I did ask Steve Cohen one question, unrelated to the position. How does he feel being portrayed on the TV show Billions? Because the character is based on him.
Is it really? Is that
yes.
actually? I did not know.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. He's not even a ginger though. Like he doesn't even have red hair. Like
right.
What's it? Damian Harris.
Damian Lewis. Yes. No, but that character is based on him loosely.
Interesting. I never knew that.
Yes.
How fiction always comes from reality.
Yes.
In some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Well, cool. Well, now that we've got
Yumper,
locked you into a lifetime contract with the Tainted Glove.
Yes, I have to respond to Yumper on one thing. I don't think anyone would hire Ken Woe because all you'd have is guys who hit 40 homers, strike out 200 times, bat 200 with an OBP at 205. And by the way, happy birthday, Ken Woe.
And based on the cage footage that I've seen of him swinging in a batting cage, you definitely want to keep him up in the front office and not let him anywhere near.
Well, he gets conked in the head and becomes Costanza teaching Cheater and Bernie Williams how to hit.
For safety's sake. I think for all involved, I think we might want to put a padlock on that fence. So speaking of some baseball stuff, this week the qualifying offers today basically the qualifying offers started to roll out for a lot of major league teams and. There were some names that were expected to be on there. Nick Castellanos. You've got
Freddie Freeman, Nick Castellanos, Correa. Robbie Ray, Marcus Semien.
Mm-hmm.
Those all make sense, and I would expect all of them to say no.
Right, and then you have names that were noticeably left off. And for White Sox fans, the biggest name I think that was a little polarizing today, a lot of head scratching and a lot of explanation. I think I saw a lot online too today was people explaining the potential rationale behind it. But with, of course, combined with some social media posts from said player's wife, it did feel a little bit like a goodbye. But Carlos Rodon did not get a qualifying offer from the White Sox, which means he is on his own. No compensation if he signs somewhere else. And there's a lot of debate as to what the White Sox saw that felt that they didn't want to take a risk on a QO, which would net them a pick if someone else, signs them instead of them. And
hey! Breaking news from Justin Zaboda. Ugh. Hope I said that right, Justin. Dallas Keuchel won a Gold Glove. Increase that trade value.
You know why he's got a Gold Glove? He's got a lot of chances, a lot of balls in play.
Yep.
He's everywhere. He needs a golden parachute. That's right. Obviously Keuchel is locked in, and that does actually something that plays into the Rodon stuff because he's got a pretty hefty contract still. For you, I mean, again, a lot of the explanation came with Rodon was, is he hurt? Do the White Sox not want to extend a qualifying offer and then have a guy go get Tommy John or something like that? Was there some sort of concern there? Or the other one was just, did Hahn just drop the ball here and make a stupid mistake? So you, as a White Sox fan, tell me what you're thinking. What did you think of the move? Do you agree with it? Do you not disagree with it? What are your thoughts on why Rick Hahn decided to, one of the best feel-good stories of the White Sox season, not even extend them the qualifying offer to return?
Well, the qualifying offer was what, $18.2 million, I believe it is. And remember, he only pitched like 140 or 150 innings. He had a lot of time off between starts in August and September. He wasn't on a regular rotation. He, would get 7 or 8 days between starts and everything else. And when he pitched, he looked really good, but you couldn't really get length out of him at the end. And frankly, I have no problem with him not getting a qualifying offer because that $18 million is a lot of money. And the White Sox have other holes they need to fill. And that $18 million could go towards filling those holes, especially if you still have Dallas Keuchel on the roster at the beginning of the season. And that's something we can discuss later too, because I think there is a team out there that the White Sox could trade Dallas Keuchel to. There's one team. But I just think that more than, I think some people need to understand, as much as we love the sport with our heart, Rick Hahn and company run it as a business with their head. And you have to understand it's a business first to them. That's all it is. Because they don't have an unlimited budget. Do I think they could spend more? Absolutely. I'm sure everyone else would agree. But the reality of the situation is it's, they won't. So you have to make do with understanding how they operate and make the decisions based off that. I was not surprised they did not extend the offer to him because quite honestly, if they had extended the offer to him, I would have been shocked would be an understatement if he didn't accept it. There's no way in the world you could tell me he would not have accepted it. And then you have $18 more million on your payroll for next year. And you still have, there's rumors about Kimbrel being traded and all that other stuff because you exercise the option on Kimbrel. So that's 16 more million on the payroll next year. You could really be tying your hands, unable to do anything if you aren't able to move that money. So I think it was a risk decision more than anything else. A financial risk decision, not a player risk decision,
right?
More than anything else.
Nothing. Whoa! Wait, how did Bruce and Luke get in there? Wait, did I send that to you?
No.
Or did you send a link to Brew and Luke?
No.
What?
Did you send it? I didn't send it to him. Oh, I might have. Oops. I think that was me.
We have a special guest.
All right.
We have a special guest that we did not know was going to be here, but we're going to go ahead. He's here, so we're going to bring him on.
Why not?
I'd like to welcome the resident beer expert and cross-country and track coach extraordinaire who had a a good weekend. I think I got to see some of his athletes honored this weekend too. So I'd like to welcome Bruce Luke to the Tainted Glove. I guess our first guest ever. So
yeah,
welcome.
Hey, Luke, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, guys? I clicked a link that said you were live, and I was like, "Oh,
that was me. That was totally on me.
I'm in the studio, so I'm like, hey, fucking join."
Gotta like that. That's awesome.
So
and
see, Justin holes are being filled.
Yep. Yes.
So welcome, Luke. I mean, we're talking about the Rodon stuff. I mean, perfect time to get a good take from another White Sox fan. What did you think about the Rodon the non-qualifying offer?
18 million is a lot of money. So if somebody wants to pay him 18 million next year, cool. Because it's not something the Sox are going to do. They weren't going to pay him $18 million next year. That's what it comes down to. I mean,
and there's something else to remember about this too. The Sox can still sign him. It's not like they are locked out from signing him, at a more reasonable price. Something Josh Nelson did a Twitter Spaces a couple of hours ago, and he brought up a great point, and that is Bob Nightingale needs to stop tweeting about the White Sox, because if Bob Nightingale tweets that the Sox did not, extend a qualifying offer to Carlos Rodon because they feel his arm is shot or something, forget even talking to Scott about Castellanos or Marcus Simeon, who just became a Boris client. Forget talking about any of those guys with Boris, because Boris will give them the cold shoulder for what was said about Rodon. People can think it, just don't say it.
Makes a lot of sense to him with Boris. Boris, I mean, it's a CBA offseason too, so Boris is going to be extra salty. This offseason, just with all of that stuff hanging over. So,
and this brings up a great point. What do you guys think will happen before December 1st? Because somebody said, I think it was Josh who said this, and I tend to agree with him to a certain extent. I could see some of the second and third tier players signing contracts, but the big boys, the Semians, the Castellanos, Correa, Story, I see them waiting it out because they know they're going to get their payday either way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to what the trade market's going to be like over the next couple of weeks before December 1st, more than free agency. I mean, because like you're saying, the big names are going to wait it out, but what's going to happen in the trade market is what I'm more intrigued about with. Is it the GM meetings or the winter meetings that come up first?
GM meetings start later this week.
Okay, so it's the GM meetings. I think there's going to be a lot of action there with the trade market to start to finalize a little bit more before the CBA expires. So I think there's going to be a lot happening there. I got a sense that with the free agency and everything that could be a lot in play.
I agree with Luke. I think that the trade market is going to be much more active from the GM meetings, because usually it's the GM meetings, they lay the groundwork that then gets filled in at the winter meetings. So I see more activity leading up to December 1st, and then, basically the doors are locked and nothing's happened until they come to an agreement. And again, I don't think they're going to have an agreement by December 1st. I really don't. And I think this extends into January or February. And also, can I just be a little snide about something real quick? The White Sox canceled Sox Fest on Friday. They sent out this note saying, due to COVID, we're going to cancel Sox Fest because we don't know if we can give you the experience, blah, 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 blah. Well, part of the experience would be having players there. If they're locked out, they're not going to be there. So, of course, you cancel Sox Fest. And the retired players generally won't cross that line in support of the players' union, so you're not going to get anybody there.
Well, and the Cubs canceled theirs, I think, yesterday. Yesterday they officially announced it too, which Tom Ricketts loves COVID. I'm sure of that. Tom Ricketts loves COVID. Like he's like, hell yes. He's like, maybe next year he'll like release like a whole new virus every year around the Cubs convention year, just so he doesn't have to face the fans until he sells the team. But
why? What's wrong with the Marquee Network?
That guy.
Hey, did you see his brother? His brother is walking away from being chairman of, was it the fundraising arm of the Republican National Committee?
Oh, he walked away from it.
Yes. That came out a couple hours ago.
I don't know why he'd do that. That's a great grift. You're making some money.
That's true. But
fundraising arms, any of those they're good. But
yeah,
the funny part thing was with the Ricketts too is that, like we've talked about it on here too, is they're not long in the tooth probably as owners. Daddy's Warbucks is calling in as markers, and sooner or later, it's going to be sooner than later that there'll be a whole nother ownership group. And with the White Sox too, obviously with Jerry getting up in age, Chicago baseball in general in the next decade could have a really interesting changing of the guards, if you will, which would change a lot of the culture around town too, just the way that the teams are presented and how they're marketed and all that stuff too. So it's really going to be a really interesting time just to watch this stuff play out as well.
It would be like 1981 all over again, because that's when both teams were sold. The Tribune buying the Cubs back then, and then the Reinsdorf group. Reinsdorf and Einhorn was the front man to begin with. It wasn't Reinsdorf. After Einhorn botched the whole sports channel thing, Jerry sort of took the lead on everything, and Eddie went into the background. But that was only the Einhorn-Reinsdorf group only got in after the DeBartolo group was turned down by MLB because they had concerns about him gambling, which, you know what? I would have loved to seen Eddie DeBartolo Jr. because he turned around and bought the San Francisco 49ers, and look what they did in the 80s.
True. Yep. and again, ownership groups bring a personality trait too, which is
yes.
It's like you get like an over like Mark Cuban or Cohen. Look at Cohen. We just talked about Cohen earlier. That guy. He's an interest. I mean, he's a little much, but the guy genuinely seems to be an owner's a fan. But like when you hear these things, he's consulting his friends like it's a fantasy football team. That's not a good thing. But it's you know what? More power to you. You're a millionaire. But Yumper, every time he said Einhorn, I kept thinking, Einhorn's a man. That's all I could think of. And then it just started going back to Ray Finkel missing that kick again. Son of a bitch.
Laces out. Laces out.
Look at that. They're little footballs.
So Luke, what do you think's going to happen?
With sorry, I was trying to tune into the football game. The Sox ownership, you're saying, or what?
No, just in general with the CBA and everything else. You think they get this thing signed, or do you think that it extends past December 1st? How long do you think it goes?
I really hope that they're going to start on opening day. I just don't see it right now. I don't know that it's going to be like, I feel like this is going to drag into spring training because the players already don't like spring training. They think it's too long and it's not necessary. So I think it's going to continue. I think it's going to drag out, and it's going to be like, was it 94 to 95 when it was like right before opening day? And then what? Like, are they going to now have to do another spring training 2.0 and then we start in May? Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, because in 95 they started at the end of April is when the season started. Because they basically, and remember, the only reason it got quote unquote resolved in 95 is because Congress stepped up and said, hey, you got this great antitrust exemption. Maybe we need to take a look at that. Oh, wait a second. We could get this resolved real quick. Just like in 2005 when they got hauled in there for steroids. It's amazing how many new rules went into effect right after that. Mark McGuire forgot about the past. Sammy Sosa was a quiet person who forgot how to speak English. Rafael Palmeiro's pointing his finger at everybody.
Wagging the finger. The finger wag legendary.
Just make sure no matter what happens, the White Sox are playing the Giants 4th of July weekend in San Francisco. That's all I care about.
Well, I know that's all you care about. I know that Herb and Tanny from Lockdown Sox, that's all they care about because they were ready to go in 2020 and that got shelved and they were not happy about it. But yes, you got to make sure they're ready to go for July 4th or July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in San Francisco. So hopefully they don't change the schedule.
Yeah, and I mean, again, they're going to be hellfire and brimstone and Chicken Little for a while here as they try to ramp up the fear for the, fear always creates pressure when it comes to negotiation. You always want to be, making the other side feel like they have no other choice and that it's urgent, so to speak. And so for these guys, I think you're going to start seeing some of the rhetoric ramp up too about how detrimental to the game. There's a we're going to hear a lot about lockouts and shutdowns probably in the next couple of weeks, especially now as these GMs kind of get together and they're going to have to put, again, negotiation. We've seen like with just contracts and trade deadlines, and we're seeing that more now than ever, these organizations are utilizing the media as an arm of negotiation. And so we're going to see this constantly over the next couple of weeks. We're going to see these floats. They're going to get leaks like, Bob Nightingale. They're going to be, Heyman. All the regulars, they'll be playing all the hits. And they're going to ramp up. They have to, though. That's part of the whole process, I guess. But
and remember, all these guys, like Heyman is a Yankee guy. Heyman is a Yankee and Scott Boras guy. He's always working for them. Nightingale, we know, gets everything wrong except White Sox stuff. And I personally think it's Kenny Williams who feeds him. But that's just pure speculation on my part. So you have these guys and they have their tools used by the different sides to get a point across. That's why it's always critical to listen to some of the things they say. And one thing I'll say about Scott Merkin. Scott Merkin is never – I like Scott. Scott's a great guy. Talked to him on numerous occasions. He's never really broken a story, but if you read what he says, he lays groundwork for a lot of things that wind up happening down the road. Like it might be a week, a couple weeks later, things like that. So always pay attention to what he says because he's sort of using the old military style of laying the groundwork before they actually go to war. That's what he's doing. And that's what a lot of these, especially the MLB writers do. They lay groundwork for the team because who is MLB.com owned by? It's not owned by the players.
Yeah, it's owned by the owners.
Right, exactly. MLB Advanced Media is owned by the owners, not the players.
It's just so interesting too. And again, it's the smoke fire kind of thing. You kind of we kind of experienced it. Like if you know something that somebody else doesn't know, like you're privy to some information, but you can't give the full story. Some of these guys, I'm sure, know what's coming a lot earlier than we realize. And sorry that my light was about to fall over. A lot more than they realize or we realize. And they're already feeding us what's coming. Like it's already on the way, and they know it, but they can't say it. So they in their reporting, they put them in there so that when we go back and look at the reporting, the signs were there, but we weren't seeing all of it. So they're leaving breadcrumbs, I guess, so to speak. Yes. And as you get closer and closer, then of course they open up the entire, the sack and you see everything that's there. And that's just how obviously this works. And those guys, it's access. Again, we talk about the corporate media model all the time. They do this because it gives them access. If they don't do this, they won't get the access. They'll give it to somebody else and somebody else will make their nut on the same information. So they have to play ball with the league. Owners, players, everyone, and they have to walk that fine line. But I think that these guys, in the end, more water gets held for the owners. As long as we're seeing the Scott Boras is the boogeyman narrative, we know that reporters are always holding waters for the for the owners, and so that's a big part of it. I always, as Yumper could say, Yumper has a good comment, or they can, say it and then not give credit to someone that actually was not a mainstream newspaper reporter, like when Evan, one of the Cubs reporters, he
was it Evan Grant?
Altman.
Oh, Evan
and,
Altman. Okay.
Altman, he reported he broke something, and then they broke it after, and no credit given. It was kind of like whatever. They're just a blogger. So that's just remember, bloggers don't have that access. These guys have the access. So this is where you're going to get. You can actually really assume you're going to get the best news from when it comes to the CBA from the actual like mainstream guys like that, or not guys, but reporters. And so that's where you're really going to be able to know what's coming. You're not going to get it from the local bloggers.
And just going back to that point, wasn't it someone broke the Theo Epstein talking to the Cubs because he ran into Theo in a Starbucks? Wasn't that the story? Like someone
he was there. He was there with the Cubs because he ran into Theo across the street at the Starbucks or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, that's how the rumor got out, because someone said, "Hey, I was just talking to Theo Epstein in Starbucks across from Wrigley Field. And guess where he walked after he bought his Starbucks?"
I'm surprised somebody busts Javi. Hey, ran into Javi at McDonald's 4 minutes before the first game. Having a burger, but no Coke. He was going to drink Pepsi. Oh my gosh. I'm not over that. I'm never going to be over the fact that he drinks Pepsi with his McDonald's. How you waste the opportunity to drink McDonald's Coke is beyond me. I don't get it. You're an animal.
Oh, Diet Coke is like crack there.
Oh, it's so good. But
it looks like if they don't serve beer, I don't care.
Starbucks beer.
That needs to be a thing. They should do that.
Well, you know, they're used at Hamburger U when it was in Oak Brook, and Hamburger U being McDonald's headquarters. On 22nd Street, they used to have it. There was an office building. It's gone now. That used to serve beer at McDonald's. It was part of their office complex, and they served beer there. Because I worked down the street from there for a little while, so we'd go there on Fridays at noon and get bombed. And yeah, needless to say, no work got done after that.
Yeah, right. I know what you're talking about. That's not too far from me there. I know. Right. I know the building that is no longer there. That,
yes,
it's
right, basically right next to Oak Brook Mall.
Yep.
And because they just tore it down, what, 6-9 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. But yeah, so you know. But as far as all this stuff with Rodon, I just think the dollar amount was too much for the financial risk, especially when you got other roster spots to fill. Second base, right field come to mind. And I know some people took the sentimental path today about Rodon. Oh, he had a breakout year and everything else. Absolutely true. Other people took the Jerry is cheap path on this. Oh, it's because they're cheap. Well, you can argue that, but the payroll's trending to be about $170 million. That's not exactly cheap. Not exactly Yankee or Dodger realm, but it's not cheap either. What are the Cubs at, 40?
Yeah, 40. And half of that is Jason Hayward. Hurts my soul every time.
Well, you know, he gave that great speech. That was worth it.
Is Rodon going to get $18 million from a team to be a starter? Because that's not. I don't see that happening. I
don't either, to be honest. I could see like a two-year deal with a third-year option at like 12 mil, something 10 to 12 mil, something like that. And I know some people have said, you know, San Francisco just needs pitching because 4/5 of their staff is free agents. So he could wind up in San Francisco. I see him in a different uniform, and don't ask me why, but I just see the Yankees all over him. I can't explain it. I don't know why, but I just see the Yankees just like, hey, Scott, let's talk about this guy. What can we do? Hell, they take every other injured pitcher they can get their hands on. But, you know, it's funny because I mentioned San Francisco and the situation they're in where they're losing 4/5 of their starting rotation to free agency. To me, that is the perfect trade spot for Dallas Keuchel. That is a perfect park for him to pitch in. And you could trade him to San Francisco because they're not going to be able to afford to go out and get 4 starting pitchers. It's just not going to happen, especially if they pursue a certain former Cub third baseman, right fielder, left fielder, former Rookie of the Year and MVP and World Series champ. I noticed someone's strangely quiet on that.
You're talking about Jorge Soler?
Your joke?
No, that would be a 2-time world champ.
Your joke combined with Svo's comment in the section right now made me think of when you make those jokes, when you talk about possibly the White Sox signing a certain Cub. The only thing that pops into my head is this.
Well, I have a fear that they might sign a certain Cub, but it's not the one I would want.
No, it's the one that nobody would want. But here you go.
Well, remember, McDonald's is a sponsor for the White Sox, so it might work out really well.
That's how I feel every time someone talks about Javi, but go to the White Sox. No, you don't want it. Anyway, sorry. He's Sven. Svo mentioned a classic Tom Hanks film, The Money Pit, which was a fantastic scene. That's the scene, of course, where the entire kitchen is destroyed. But
doesn't it fall into the basement or something?
The turkey's done. Yeah, it shoots out the window and then lands in a bucket. The scene that is actually such a good. That and The Burbs are two of the most underrated Tom Hanks films ever. By the way, the scene where he gets stuck on the floor and he's like, "My chest is constricted. I can't shout. You laughing at me, Fielding?" It's like, "No, I'm not laughing." It's like he's stuck. And then he's like in the floor and she comes in. He's like, he's got his little arm up. Anyway, yeah. I mean, honestly, there's some pieces that White Sox have to actually do. Together and. Are you guys looking, with Rodon? If you guys do lose Rodon, do you dip in? Do you guys trust Dallas for one more swan song? Like, I don't. You obviously see there is a gap there, but again, Cease is going to be a year older, better. I would assume. And you've got a 1, 2, 3 right there. And again, you have. Keuchel can be a 5. I would assume. He's fine as a 5, I think. And maybe next year would be better. He'll be hungrier, and some guys like Lester. And him, older guys, sometimes it takes a bad season and they work real hard in the offseason for their last big push. Maybe he'd come back for his last big push. But your guys are looking for a 4. I could, I figure with Rodon out at least at the least.
Well, and the thing about it is, this applies to both Keuchel and to Kimbrel. The last full season they pitched was 2018 before 2021. Because 2019, they both signed late because of the qualifying offer. They didn't sign until July because it was either if they signed with someone before the draft, the team signing them would have to give up a draft pick. So teams signed, them immediately after the draft, and then they needed some time to get into shape and get out there because Keuchel went to the Braves and Kimbrel went to the Cubs. And so you had 2020, which was 60 games because of everything that went on. So you went 2 years where these guys didn't pitch a full season. They're going to need time to build everything back up. Now, I'm not saying that's the reason they had poor seasons. I think it's a factor, but not the only factor. There's obviously a lot of mileage on both those arms.
Mm-hmm.
So is it a case where they need time to build up to where they were? Or are they done?
Right. Is the tank actually empty?
Right. And someone like Kimbrel, I don't think so. Because he looked great for the Cubs in the first before the trade. It's when he got over to the White Sox that he looked bad. And you don't know if it's because he's in a new environment, a change to his rhythm, everything else. Is it because it's the American League versus the National League and the competition's a little hard, tougher because the lineups are a little longer because of the DH?
Mm-hmm.
Is it because of the mileage on the arm? I think there might be factors in all three involved with it. Keuchel, most of the time he had the half season in Atlanta. The rest of the time he was in the AL. So that really eliminates the argument about the competition level because he's familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
So is there mileage on that arm? Yes, I think that obviously they're both getting older. A lot of mileage on the arm. So obviously they are not what they used to be. But at the same time, is it more? Is it just that they're done? I mean, it could be that they're done. And, you can have the same thing with Carlos Rodon. He could be done. Remember, the Sox have access to all his medicals. They know what's going on. And it looks like Luke froze. Oh, there he goes.
No, I'm still here.
He just gets stoic. So he just gets stoic.
I'm wrapping up because I got to go get another beer because this is empty.
Okay.
Okay.
So I just thought I'd pop in because I saw the link and I was like, wait. No.
I'm pretty sure Pete tweeted the link out to the entire world. So we almost had 1,000 guests.
That was me.
That's awesome.
That would be great.
I believe in, it takes a village to talk about this.
Huge space. It's a big space. Thanks for coming on, Luke. Man, we appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Luke.
Thanks
Have a
for
good
having
one,
me.
man.
Appreciate it.
All right,
See you guys.
later.
Hey, Fidds, hopefully I see you in a couple of weeks in Vegas. Go Ducks.
Absolutely.
All right.
Sounds
See you
good.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. He could be coming for the Pac-12 championship here in Vegas at whatever, December 7th or 8th or whatever that weekend is.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a whole beer crawl. I didn't say this on TV, was not, but I got a whole beer crawl. If I can sneak him away for a little bit, I might even take that Friday off.
Are you taking him to Atomic?
I'm gonna take him. Yeah, I'm gonna take him down. I'll take him to Atomic too. It's kind of in the same area. I'm gonna take him down to Main Street, which has like 7 breweries, all like in a general area, and there's some really good stuff down there. I think he would love it. And it's the Arts District again. It used to be the scariest part of town here, and they've completely revamped it into a fantastic restaurants and breweries all over the place. One of the best pizza joints in town's right there too. Good Pie. And then they've got Velveteen Rabbit, which is a really cool cocktail bar. And then you've got all these breweries just up and down. And like there's a really cool bar called, I forgot what it's called now, Rebar. And the whole place is antiques, like an antique store. So anything in the bar you can buy. It's for sale. So like if you're sitting at a bar stool and you're like, I like this bar stool, buy the bar stool. Like everything's for sale. So anything, and you buy the cash register, I think. It's kind of funny. But it's a cool little joint. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to take him on a little bit of a beer crawl if I can get him away, at least for a little bit. At least
Nice.
but that'd be cool. Yeah, good dude, real good dude, and
Yes.
teacher does a great job with young people too. So him and I, very similar career fields, coaches and teachers. So I appreciate Luke a ton. So I'm glad he got to be on here.
Yes, absolutely.
And yes, everything's for sale, Jack. I actually purchased a toupee from the owner one time just to wear around. I wanted to have a Mark Davis look, and I just bought it from it. I got nothing.
How drunk were you if you wanted to go with the Mark Davis look?
I just wanted to channel my inner Lloyd Christmas and roll with it. But
Well, you got to chip a tooth then.
yeah, right. That's so funny that actually that was like his actual tooth. He had filled or whatever it is.
He had the cap removed for the movie. I love that.
But also something we didn't really, I didn't bring up before, but the Cubs also picked up Wade Miley off of waivers, I believe, this week. A Reds pitcher, and he a good, solid lefty arm. As far as the Cubs move, I mean, the dude had a 6 WAR in 2021. He was 12-7, 3.37 ERA through 163 innings. Again, a lefty arm, and Cubs haven't really had that since Quintana cut his hand off with doing dishes or whatever. And so it hasn't been, and John Lester, obviously, those two are gone. So getting that nice little tweener for the rotation will be nice. That actually, today I think they picked up his option too. So they, that's a nice move that shows that the Cubs front office isn't totally tapping out. That keeps them around for a little bit longer besides just 2022. So it's a nice, nice move for the Cubs. But that's going to be, again, this qualifying offer stuff. All those guys with qualifying offers, the Cubs need a shortstop, and those QOs, I feel, are going to scare the Cubs off for anything. And so that does scare me in a little bit of fear that I did play the money pit laugh, but Javi right now actually makes the most sense for the Cubs financially and everything. And I hate to say that, but he's not going to get a long-term deal. If they give him a long-term deal, they're stupid.
I think Yumper's head just exploded.
I know. I don't like it. I don't want it. I just feel like, as far as the Cubs being cheap and trying to manipulate a little bit the way that they do, I think that he's probably the most cost effective one. Excuse me. But it really comes down to Javi wanting a long-term deal. And so that would probably be the deal of killers, because they would be insane to give him a long-term deal with the amount of prospects that are coming up at the middle of infield position. So that just sucks. So the QOs kind of did that too. A couple guys on there, obviously Castellanos, Sager. Yumper says if Javi signs back with the Cubs, he will become a Sox fan.
Welcome aboard, Yumper.
I wouldn't be a Sox
Be happy
fan.
to have you.
I sure would have a hard time sometimes clapping. But you know what? About the name on the front, not the name on the back, so it's whatever. So that should be an interesting thing to watch play out. But another really interesting thing watching play out as we transition on over to a little bit of the gridiron is that tomorrow night. That's why we're doing our broadcast today on a Sunday instead of on a Monday. The Bears hit Monday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who the Bears actually have fared really well against the Steelers over the last 10, 12, 13 years. I think they haven't lost in like a decade to the Steelers. It's been a while. Even when the Bears have been bad, the Bears somehow. I remember a couple of years, 2000. I want to say like 2007, 2008.
No, it was two. It was. I remember it was 2009, and there's only one reason why I remember this, because I went to the Bears game, then I went to see Bruce Springsteen in concert at the UC after, and he played the entire Born to Run album.
Nice.
Yes.
Excuse me. Yeah, that's I remember actually my roommate at the time was a Steelers fan, so when the Bears won, and he would talk shit all week, and then the Bears won that game, and he actually I think he punched a hole in his door upstairs while I was downstairs dancing and gallivanting around the living room, draped in his Pittsburgh Steelers blanket. I have pictures. I trolled the shit out of him on that one. I saved it all week, and I took the beating all week from him, and then as soon as it happened, I was like, teabag time, and so it was a fun little thing. I remember that. But that's it should be interesting because the Bears hit Monday Night Football last week. They lost. They jumped out to an early lead, and then the game script ran out, and they ended up falling and losing to the Niners. And so this week, expectation: no Khalil Mack. I think no Eddie Jackson. Is Eddie Jackson out?
I believe that's correct.
No Eddie Jackson.
The biggest thing: Matt Nagy is back, so expect the offense to be handcuffed.
More jet sweeps.
More jet sweeps. When you're a jet sweep till the end.
ADHD side note, every single time I see the trailer for Steven Spielberg's West Side Story in theaters, I get goosebumps and I get excited. The other day, I think I even tweeted during before the movie even started, before Eternals, and I just get goosebumps just because it looks. Carrie goes, "This movie did they shoot it to make it look like it was the 80s?" I'm like, no. The reason why it looks like it's the 80s is because Steven Spielberg was the quintessential film lens of the 80s. So all the films that looked great in the 80s looked like that because it was a Spielberg movie. And this is a Spielberg movie, so it's the same film filter that he normally uses. So it's just a normal Spielberg movie, but he's so familiar as a director and his look is so familiar that you think it's an 80s movie because 80s movies were permeated with the Steven Spielberg look. And now we see it on like Stranger Things and all that stuff. So it's kind of funny. Yeah. And Rita Moreno's in it too.
Yes.
So that should be a fun, sorry, that's a total side note, but
yeah. Every time I got a further side note for you. Thanksgiving weekend, since the Bears are playing on Thanksgiving in Detroit, on Sunday of Thanksgiving weekend, Fathom Events is having the original West Side Story being screened at movie theaters right before the new one comes out. And anyone, if you've never had the opportunity to see the original West Side Story on the big screen, absolutely make it a point to go. It's well worth it.
I swear, I get goosebumps every time you hear that. Just the echo. I'm like, ooh, like I don't know. It's just that I know you're a big fan of it too. We've talked about it, as a teaching tool.
Yes.
As a high school teacher, I've utilized it. That in the old room, the 1968 Romeo and Juliet, where you have the boob scene that you got to cover, which is like universally known. Even my dad watched that when he was in high school. And then, of course, you got the Romeo and Juliet from Baz Luhrmann, which was a great one too. And so you have all these teaching tools. And my Romeo and Juliet Shakespeare unit for freshman English is like a 3.5 week unit because it literally does entail reading the entire play together as a class, like in bits, not like all at once, and then watching all three of those films at some point during the unit. So like the first one is with the old one, and then they see the musical West Side Story version, and then the cool edgy version, which is modernized, because of guns or swords and blah blah blah, because it's the brand name or whatever. Right. And it's a good way to teach, like for the kids to visualize and understand and kind of cut through the Shakespeare speak, which is really hard sometimes for kids to kind of get through that and the iambic pentameter, the way it's written and the beat and the rhythm that it moves with. So that's always a fun little unit. But that's going to be fun. English teachers are ecstatic right now that West Side Story is coming. A new West Side Story is coming out. so are theater teachers and music teachers. I could tell you the educational system as a whole is pumped about that. I personally, though, was inspired by a student on Friday to change the pre-Thanksgiving unit. I am now going to do a short Harold Ramis, Ivan Reitman unit right before Thanksgiving in preparation for the third Ghostbusters. So
nice.
We're going to watch Ghostbusters. All three of my levels, we're going to watch Ghostbusters because only once every 30 years a Ghostbuster comes out. So that's a real one, at least, not the Melissa McCarthy one. So we'll just pretend like that doesn't exist. That's Voldemort of film. That shall not be mentioned or named. So anyway, sorry. With the Bears on Monday Night Football, see ADHD total woohoo. Sorry.
Yeah.
So they're on Monday Night Football, so we've got expectations. I mean, what are you looking at? What do you look to see from the Bears tomorrow night? Like, what do you want to see? I mean, it's a Justin Fields national audience. It's his first time as an NFL quarterback. So what are you thinking? Again, a win. Let's be honest, we're at this point where we're looking for like the silver linings and other stuff. So like, what are you thinking?
Well, I hope he doesn't get killed, first off, to be quite honest, because that offensive line is just shit. And Matt Nagy does him no favors with the offensive line he has, because one thing that I saw I didn't catch all of the San Francisco game. I caught a good portion of it. One thing I saw is it looked like the offensive game plan was tailored more for Justin Fields, not a drop back passer, which he's not. They gave him the opportunity to use his legs a little more, to roll out a little more, things of that nature. Also, that also helps with the offensive line, because let's face it, when your best offensive lineman is 39-year-old Jason Peters, you got problems. And I just don't want to see him handcuffed again, where he's standing back there, doing 5-7 step drops the whole time. And here comes the Steeler defense. Granted, it's not the steel curtain. It's not like you got Mean Joe Green coming after you up the middle or anything like that. But still, they present a pretty formidable front. And I just don't want to see him. I don't want to see him get dented. And the thing I've consistently said all season, I wanted him to be redshirted this year. Not because I didn't want him to get the practice or anything else or the experience. I didn't want to see him get behind that offensive line and be running for his life. And I think there's some cases where we see that. And I'm just afraid that Nagy's going to do Nagy things with the offense again. And you're going to see him just taking some hits that, if you allow him to use his athletic abilities, he might be able to get out of some of those hits. And Justin brings up a great point. TJ Watt. Yeah, that's not an appealing thing to have coming after your rookie quarterback.
Yeah, he's and I mean, Fields took a couple shots last week. He took a couple shots against the Raiders too. Had a little bit of a scare in the Raiders game. Actually, he had to go to the tent for a second. That was kind of fun though. I kind of like everyone else. I was reading Twitter while I was watching him come out of the tent, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!" Like it was all doom and gloom. I'm like, I'm seeing it live. It's not buffering right now, so I see him live. He's got out of the tent. He's okay.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny to watch that, but he's had a couple scares. I mean, because that looked like he hyperextended his knee bad. And you don't want him to take too much punishment. We don't want to turn Justin Fields into a what's his name from the Redskins that basically was done. He got beaten to death because they overworked him. Shanahan.
RG3.
Oh yeah, RG3. Yeah, with Shanahan ran him into the ground. And you don't want that either. And again, I mean, the development has to go, and his decision making. He still does seem like he's still processing some stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't think he looks. I mean, if you compare first starts, him and Jordan Love today, he looks heads and shoulders better than Jordan Love. Jordan Love today looked like he was staring at like a deer in the headlights. His decision making was what it looked like in college, which was very slow. In college as well, he just had a lot of time because he was a superior athlete to the people that were in that conference, and he was also picking on UNLV most of the time. But the thing that I saw with Justin Fields was his decision making has improved every start, and I'm sure Jordan Love's probably will too. I have to assume, maybe not, hopefully not. Actually, hopefully not. But Fields, you got to see that decision making. The quicker the presence and him reacting. Cause like, I think late, things started to get a little bit fast for him. And sometimes I think they've got to slow the game down for him again. And I think that having Montgomery back is going to be a nice thing. Although the run game's always been nice, but now you can start, get a little bit craftier. You've got two types of running backs. You've got, Allen Robinson has been a non-factor all season, so getting him involved. And I think Cole Kmet actually is due for a big game tomorrow night. I think Cole Kmet might actually have his best game as a pro tomorrow night. I think that the Steelers, just that middle is a little soft. And I think, especially if they're going to try and pressure Fields, middle's going to be open. It's going to be soft enough where he can maybe just get something off across the middle. I think that's going to be huge. I think Cole Kmet being there as a safety valve, especially if they bring the house, is going to be big. And Justin makes a good point too. Get the guy. I mean, he is so good. Play action. His quarterback numbers out of play action are excellent. His on a rollout, also his rollouts. He when he's on the run, when he's moving, his quarterback rating goes up. Trying to fit a round peg into a square hole or a square peg into a round hole stuff with Nagy's got to end. He's got to just play to his strengths. And they felt like they did for a little bit last week. It really did for a while. But then it got stale again. Almost like they ran out of. Maybe Nagy's playbook is just that limited. Maybe like they're like you're looking for like the page 3, and they're like, where are the other 7 pages? Like, oh, that's it. I'm like, oh shit.
Well, Nagy probably would tell you the dog ate his homework or something.
Yep. Yeah.
We're
gonna go back and look at the tape, and apparently, when I looked at the tape, the dog ate the homework and the rest.
Yes.
Of the book.
And that's just it. To Justin's point. I would love to see more rollouts. I would love to see more, RPOs, because I think that's more the game that Fields brings.
And him is not to go down to take the yards and then drop, too. Not to initiate the contact. Learning how to know where the marker is, know how many yards you have, and then get your butt down and get down. Limit your contact.
And to Yumper's point, it's something that we've talked about before. Nagy's a system coach. He can't coach around the talent that his players have. He's trying to use the term you just used, trying to fit the round peg in the square hole. He's trying to say, okay, yeah, you can do this and that, but I want you to take a 7-step drop, survey the field, and air it out. And there's two distinct issues with that philosophy for this team, the way it's constructed. One, your offensive line sucks. If you had an offensive line that could sustain blocks for 4 or 5 seconds, that might work. And two, that's not what your quarterback has ever done in his career, so to speak, his college career. He was RPO, he was, he got moving, and he was able to make decisions based off what he was seeing when he was moving. Trying to get him to be a classic, drop back Joe Montana pocket passer is never going to work. Because what was the stat they were saying a couple weeks ago? He was getting what? 1.6, 1.7 seconds?
Yeah, he actually got more time than Trubisky, though, which is funny.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because Trubisky didn't get that pass. And I think that the expectations with Fields, because of how the Bears, this pickup with Fields was not as polarizing as the Trubisky one was, just because the trade up and Mahomes made it harder, and Watson being there, that made it really hard. Yeah. This one, there's less of that. The Bears were like way at the bottom and made a nice little savvy move to get up and get them. And it's a universally, applauded move. So I think that makes it easier for Fields in that sense too. But that's still not a lot of time. It just he still has as little time as he's had. Trubisky had even less, which is insane to think about that guy.
Yes.
And that guy didn't say shit with a mouthful of manure during his time as a Bear. And so it's tough. And so Nagy doesn't do his quarterbacks any favors. He basically turns them into villains inadvertently because Chicago will chew a bad quarterback up and spit him out fast.
Well, who the favorite athlete in all of Chicago is? Historically, who the favorite athlete has been?
The running back.
The backup quarterback for the Bears.
Yeah, right.
I mean, how many years I'm going back to the McMahon days where people were like, we need to get Tom Zach in there. I'm like, Tom Zach sucks. Tom Zach was great when he didn't know he was going to play. If you gave him the playbook and said, you're our guy, he was awful. I hate to put it this way, but if you gave him time to think, he'd kill himself. It was just like, just go out there and react. Don't think.
Right. It's like,
So-
I mean, Shane Matthews. I mean, remember
Yes.
there was, at one point, I believe that there were people that believed that Caleb Haney was the answer.
Moses Moreno, Caleb Haney, what was it? Paul Justin.
So, Paul Justin.
So
Many names. It's like a graveyard of just poor life choices. Jonathan Quinn. Oh God.
Yeah. The Mighty Quinn. Yes, I remember the Mighty Quinn.
Was it Shane Matthews?
Shane Matthews. Who was the one surfer guy they brought in? Older guy. I remember the days of Greg Landry, for God's sakes. Walter Payton quarterback for him at one point when Jim McMahon got injured.
I forgot about that. Yeah, and so and this it's a good point too. Is they're getting the offensive line is getting healthier,
Yes.
and that's a good thing. It's going to give him a little bit more time.
Shane Faldo.
And I'm also going to say this too: Montgomery hasn't been out there since Fields has started to make jump, and so now the pass protection from the running back position is going to improve. Because if there's things that I think that Herbert struggled with, he missed more than a few chips last week that led to unnecessary pressure. And I think having Montgomery, I know he doesn't like to be called Montgomery back, will also add to that protection. You're going to get a veteran in the backfield. I mean, it's weird saying that David, that he is a veteran, but he is, at least at this point, compared to everybody else in that backfield. He's going to be there helping out a little bit instead of having two rookies in the backfield, which is what they had. Now you have some experience again. So I think that might help as well. I don't think the offense is going to be an issue tomorrow. I think that the defense, my biggest concern is that Deontay Johnson goes insane. And because, again, just like last week with Deebo Samuel, the Bears don't tackle. And guy like Deontay Johnson and Claypool too, Chase Claypool, those guys slip one tackle, they're gone. Like it's bye. And Johnson is like a Devontae Adams kind of guy. He takes up space. He gets a lot of targets. And then Claypool will slip and go. Like he's so fast. So you've got a lot of. I'm more concerned with the defense. I think that the offense is going to have to maybe keep up a little bit. I think the offense might have to throw a little arena football out there and fling it around a little bit. Got to sling it sometimes. And I think tomorrow night, which would be fun for the game, as long as the weather's good and everything's there, I think that tomorrow night might be a really exciting game. I think the Bears are always just good enough to be in a game early, and then they might not finish. But I think that, I'm looking at the spread. I think the Bears might actually cover. I don't know.
The thing with the Bears is, I think the defense is done. I think they're gassed, and they spend so much time out on the field. All that wear and tear, like we were talking about with pitchers, all that wear and tear affects them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that they're gassed. And again, it's the same situation. The Bears somehow managed to find a way to take a lead. And then they almost seem to sit on it. Like, oh, we got to hold them here. We got this stellar defense. And it's like, no, you don't. You don't have the 85 Bears defense. You don't have the 2000 Baltimore Ravens defense. You don't. You need to, when you got them down, you need to keep them down. And that means keep scoring. And the longer you hold the ball, the less their offense is on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, and I know a lot of people consider this a blasphemous statement. Why in the world, if you have the opportunity to take the ball and put points on the board to start, you wouldn't do it? I understand that they supposedly did this study that says if you defer to the second half, you get an extra possession or whatever it may be. But why would you give Aaron Rodgers the ball to start a game? Why would you give Tom Brady the ball to start a game? Why would you give Patrick Mahomes the ball to start a game? Because you're giving yourself a good shot to be down 7-0 instantly before you even touch the ball.
Right. Makes sense. I mean, that's
yeah.
I'm when I play Madden, I always defer. But when I'm like with the Bears, like the way you just explained it is a perfect reason why I love getting the ball and going first. I mean, it's just you hit someone in the mouth immediately and then it goes. But video games, it's just different. That's all. And
yeah.
So, bro, just mentioning a Primanti bro sandwich in the chat is harmful. They are so delicious. If we're talking about food for this weekend, that's the same. If you're a Bears fan and you're in Pittsburgh, make sure you get a Primanti Bros because it's good. I have my
Jack, we see you.
Yes, Jack is asking existential questions about existence.
Yes.
Am I here? Who am I really? But
no, you're there, Jack. We're here. You're there.
True, correct. And it's all just data. It's X's and O's. It's ones and zeros. It's just a bunch of pixels, really. It's not
flying around in the air.
It's the cloud. I went to a Steelers game, Steelers Chargers game. I want to say 2015. No, 2014, maybe 13. I don't know, 13, 14, somewhere in that year, like time. And a friend of mine, my ex-girlfriend, was the offensive lineman for the Chargers. He had just retired though.
Wait, stop. So a friend of yours, your ex-girlfriend, was an offensive lineman for the Chargers?
A friend of my ex-girlfriend.
Okay.
my ex-girlfriend was an offensive lineman for the Chargers. Which made dinner dates extremely expensive. She was friends with this. He had just retired though. And so we went to go watch the game in Pittsburgh. And so she had some friends to visit. And so during the tailgate though, we made like 40 breakfast burritos. And I kid you not, dude ate like 10 of them at least. And so at our tailgate, when we had like 15 people and we all had one breakfast burrito apiece and he had like 10. And he was drinking at the game and he's like, during warm-ups, he's like, hey, yelling at him. And they're like, oh, hey. And he's like, shows him the beer. He's like, fuck you, I'm drinking. Hilarious because it was like his first time seeing his boys play or whatever. And so afterwards, though, we went, I want to say it was the Monday after, or maybe it was the Saturday before the game. I can't remember. We went to Primanti Brothers and this is so Pittsburgh. Guess who was there signing autographs?
Franco.
The bus.
Oh.
I'm like, are you kidding? Like, seriously? Jerome Bettis is here. I'm like, that's awesome. So introduced myself. I'm like, hey, stuff. But I'm like, that's really funny. I'm like, you couldn't get more Pittsburgh than going to Primanti Brothers and then, Jerome Bettis hanging out, signing autographs in the building. I'm like, good stuff. Good sandwiches, though. Good sandwiches. So, yeah. All right. Well, and speaking of good soup or good life choices, the NFL was a little of a buzz this week. Saturday Night Live actually had some fantastic sketches. We won't touch on this too much because it's almost just beating a dead horse at this point. But Saturday Night Live did a great sketch last night with Pete Davidson played Aaron Rodgers. And so Aaron Rodgers got in a little hot water this week because it was revealed that he was not actually vaccinated, although in comments like early in the season, he had basically inferred that he was. And it was kind of lawyer speak, blah, blah, blah. So he's wearing it a little bit and he's obviously got COVID, so he can't play. And so it has not been his best week, I guess I'll put it for him.
And Jordan Love looked quite impressive. It gives Bears fans hope.
Oh yeah, Jordan Love played today and was terrible. Almost got shut out for the first time in I don't know how long. It was a missed tackle, a terrible missed tackle that gave them their only touchdown. But Saturday Night Live was great. But so Aaron Rodgers got a little bit of guff this week. He became championed by some and hated by others, and it's a weird twist of whatever goes on. And anytime he goes on a radio show and starts talking about quote unquote woke and all that stuff, when you start using those words, you know that you're a little bit ticked off and you're in a place that's not happy. So he went on there and just made things worse for himself, which is great for us as Bears fans. We're here for it. It's like we're in a side little side boat watching the Titanic sink with popcorn, a couple beers, and a hand warmer. And so.
And by the way, Titanic, another version of Romeo and Juliet.
Very true. All the same archetypes. But Saturday Night Live last night, Pete Davidson was Aaron Rodgers, and he was wearing the Doc Holliday shirt. And so it's the irony of, Aaron Rodgers wearing the shirt of a guy who died of a contagious lung disease while minimizing the dangers of a virus that is a lung disease that kills people, which was kind of funny. But he makes fun of him, and but it's hilarious because it's the Judge Janine Glass or whatever her name is, and she's like, she goes, "Hello, Aaron, let's talk straight because I never talk gay." Like, it was hilarious how she says, like, her accent is too funny, but they burned Aaron Rodgers pretty good last night on it. But he's taking it, he's wearing it. But for you, and this is the thing that people need to realize, it's not about the vaccination stuff. It's about the fact that he lied. And I think people it's so easy to get lost in it's a, going both the cancel culture, cliche crap. It's not that. It's legit that he lied. It's not the vaccine. The vaccine thing is a whole other thing.
Yes.
Kirk Cousins, as annoying as hell as that dude is, he is also unvaccinated, but he's like, no, I'm following the protocol. I'm following the procedures then. I'm not vaccinated, so I do this. And I'm not going to lie about it. And Aaron Rodgers, not only did he lie about it, but he wasn't doing what he's supposed to be doing as a non-vaccinated. He was walking around like a vaccinated player. And, I mean.
I'm curious to know how the Jeopardy contestants feel.
Good question too. Well, he'll have based on his comments on Pat McAfee show. Don't worry, he'll have his own quiz show on OANN or whatever in a couple of years. But no, but the argument's so lost. It's not about the vaccine. It's about what he said. It's the lie. It's the lie that's the problem, and it's the not following the procedures. The rules are the rules for everybody, not Aaron Rodgers and then everybody else. And that's the problem that I think everybody that's at least trying to think of it logically and clear-headed. I know people are just mad about the vaccine thing too. And if you're upset about the vaccine, that has nothing to do with this either. And if you're upset that he shouldn't have to get vaccinated, that's also not the argument here. The argument is you were asked a question and you lied. And if you say, well, I didn't lie because I said I was immunized, you knew exactly what you were inferring. Like to do the mental gymnastics to convince yourself that Aaron Rodgers wasn't trying to say and make us as an audience think that he was vaccinated. You're playing mental gymnastics there. You're ignoring what he really did. It's lawyer speak. It's like saying I did not have sexual relations with that girl. Why? Well, I don't believe that that's sexual relations to me. Although
define is.
Yeah, right. Define what is. And that's the argument there that he did. He hit the jackpot too. He did said I've been consulting medical experts like my friend Joe Rogan. It's like, oh God, please. Like Joe Rogan's a comedian, stand-up comic. Mm-hmm. He's a stand-up comic. So I'm sorry. No offense, Joe. I'm gonna go get my health advice from Dave Chappelle. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. All right, that's where I'm gonna get mine. Maybe I can get it from Tiny Tim. Oh wait, he's dead. Shit. Or is he?
Tiptoe through the tulips. Yes, he's dead.
Oh my God, that just gave me. Now I got a nightmare.
I think Tiny Tim sang at Jack's prom, but cannot confirm or deny.
So that's where Aaron Rodgers screwed up, though. In the end, it's not about the vaccine stuff. So, like, holding someone to task for just don't lie, just tell the truth. But he lost his he lost his Wisconsin medical, whatever. He was an endorser, dropped him. If you were watching TV today, I did not see a single Aaron Rodgers State Farm commercial. Plenty of Mahomes commercials.
Yes.
He got ripped to shreds by Terry Bradshaw and the NFL, Fox NFL Game Day crew. I think CBS didn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, which was kind of interesting. And NFL Network shouldn't because they're owned by the NFL. But, what are your thoughts? I mean, again, Aaron Rodgers, it's us as Bears fans. We were always looking for a real good reason to hate Aaron Rodgers. This one just like gives it to us a little bit. So what did you think about it? Do you think it's all for naught, or do you think that just his words meant something and it's important that all of this is the right kind of anger, not just like misguided anger, like just because of the vaccination stuff?
I think there is a reason to be angry, and it is not because of the vaccination part of this. It is because of the lie about it. He was immunized. Well, a lot of people took immunized to mean vaccinated. It was basically, he just misspoke or something when he said immunized. He meant vaccinated. The media should have pressed him and said, oh, you mean vaccinated, right? So I think that was a failing on their part. But
although to interrupt too, the very next quote from him, there was a question asked, and he actually says, I have it on my phone because I was like reading it last night. I thought it was awesome. Because I was like, this is great. Because this is 100%.
So did they follow up with him on that particular quote?
Yeah, let me pull it up. He said they asked about how Kirk Cousins was saying he was in a hermetically sealed box. The Patriots are frustrated because Cam Newton's not vaccinated. From a football competitive standpoint, was that important to make sure that you're always most likely going to be available? And from an example setting standpoint, so saying like because they're obviously asked the question, assuming he was vaccinated in this point. And so they're like, do you think that it was good to set an example as a vaccinated person, immunized, right? Says, no, it wasn't about that at all. I think I'd like to learn about everything that I'm doing. And there was a lot of research that went into that. But like I said, there have been people that have tested a positive, but I think it's only vaccinated people here. So it's going to be interesting to see how things work moving forward.
Okay.
So he literally says there are only, I think it's only vaccinated people here. Again, inferring that he's in the group of only the vaccinated people here. So that's where he screws that up right there too. And that quote right there tells me that he was intentionally deceiving. I mean, that was intentional deceit. But sorry, I had to say.
No, that's perfectly fair. No, I am not going to go down the path of the vaccine argument and everything else, because that could be a 5-hour argument, to go back and forth about. And just for the record, I'm fully vaccinated. I need to schedule my booster shot. I went to schedule it this morning, and I could find no times, so got to look at a couple more days. But him giving the front that he was vaccinated, whether it was immunized or the quote you just gave, the dude's a fucking liar. How do you think? Let's take some of his teammates. Maybe one of them's trying to start a family. How do you think they feel being around that guy now? How do you think the Jeopardy contestants feel being around him when they were around him? How do you think?
He was like John Wick.
Yeah. How do you think Jake from State Farm feels having filmed those commercials with him? And then you look at someone like Tom Brady. And I know a lot of people like to shit on Tom Brady because he's won and won and won. But you know why? Part of the reason why he's won? Because he is a true leader. He went to the team and said, we're not going to have vaccination questions. All of you are getting it fucking done, and I'm the first one in line for it.
Yep. He leads from the front, not the back.
Exactly. And that's the difference between the two. There's a reason, granted, I'll give Aaron Rodgers this. The stories I've read about his family, they are assholes. There's no question they are assholes. But he seems to piss off just about everyone. It's not just a family thing. It seems like not many people in that locker room who have left the Packers have had a lot of nice things to say about him. And maybe it's his salty personality. Maybe he's just a loner, whatever it may be. But how could teammates trust him now after this? And that's a large part of being a team, is trusting your teammate to know that, they got your back and you got theirs. How can they feel that way now? And I know it's like a lot of corny coach speak and all that shit that I just said, but it exists. It's real.
Yep. You lead from the front, not the back.
Yep,
and
exactly.
With integrity, or you don't lead at all. And I think the thing about Tom Brady too, it's the comparisons between those two dudes. This is just another example of it. But I mean, I was talking to someone at school the other day, last week, about Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady and the comparisons. And the fact is, people leave and go to join with Tom Brady.
Yes.
Nobody is going and leaving to go and join Aaron Rodgers. It's actually insane to me that nobody goes there. Like, all of these players, they could find a way to go. I want to go play with the great Aaron Rodgers. Who wants to go there? There's a reason. Like, why? Why do they basically have to draft talent? They have to draft their talent. Adam Thielen's gone. Not Adam Thielen. Not Thielen. What's his name? Who is this? Jordy Nelson. Like those.
Yeah.
He has guys, but they all come up through the organization. He does make average receivers great, I think, a lot of times. But no good player wants to. You don't see these guys kicking down the door to go play with Aaron Rodgers, and that tells me that I don't know. Maybe his playbook's out too, and people are like, that guy's a turd. I don't want to play with that dude.
And to Justin's point, I think you just covered it. Does he piss everyone does he piss off everyone, or is it magnified because we're Bears fans? I think there's components of both to that.
Mhm.
I mean, for us as Bears fans, I think it is magnified, but there are elements of truth there because look at Tampa Bay. Gronk came out of retirement to go hang with his boy Brady.
Mhm.
Richard Sherman, who has a very accomplished career on his own, said, I'm going to Tampa to be with Brady.
Mhm.
I don't hear anyone saying, I'm going to Green Bay to hang with Aaron Rodgers.
Right. That's a telling.
Mm-hmm.
That's your mini red flags. I mean, again, it is what it is with him. But
Because I honestly believe that back in, was it 2010 with LeBron's decision, that sort of laid out the model for teams to come, since then, where they try to get, like, you want to get all your boys together to hang out.
get the band back together.
Get the band back together, yes. And that's why Gronk is with Brady in Tampa now. And other guys are going there to hang with Brady. You don't see that in Green Bay. You don't.
Right.
And in defense of Aaron Rodgers, part of it may be with this year, everyone knows this is his last year in Green Bay. So they don't want to put a commitment towards Green Bay long term because they know after this year he's gone. And I pray that this means bad times are coming for the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
And that the Bears can finally start beating the Packers on a regular basis the way it should be.
Yeah. And I always makes me wonder what that locker room is like with him. Like, what is it like behind closed doors playing with Aaron Rodgers? And so, So says it perfectly. If you put our grandma in a Packers jersey, we're going to hate him or hate her. But the fact is, I think that we are a little more elevated with how much we hate him. But I think that he's wearing thin on everybody else. But no sympathy for the devil.
Yes,
That in mind. Buy the ticket, take the ride. Right. And speaking of sympathy for the devil, last night I was able to attend. Last weekend, I was in San Diego and got to see the Delta Spirit Deer Tick show, which is fantastic, by the way. But this weekend, the Rolling Stones came to Vegas for the last time, played at Allegiant Stadium. And so my buddy Michael and I met up, and his friend got us into the Wynn Field Level Club again, like he did for the Bears game, which was really cool. And we got to watch the Stones from actually a pretty decent distance. Actually, I'll be honest with you. I would have preferred to have been on the. We went down on the floor a little bit, but we didn't have. Apparently, we thought we had floor access, and we didn't. So they asked us to go back up to the club. So we got all the way down to the front because we walked down there with one of the executives that are from the Wynn, and they walked us all the way down to the front. And then they were like, "Nope, you guys got to go back." We're like, But from the stage, it was a lot better. But the sound from distance actually wasn't great. But it was great. It was a blast to see those dudes play. We're joking. That's a 78-year-old dude up on stage just lighting it up the way he was. It was just incredible, the energy level. And, they played, the playlist. I mean, they opened up with Street Fighting Man. And then they went down, I think it was like It's Only Rock and Roll. And then
I saw that Ruby Tuesday was the fan song.
Yeah, they did a fan pick where you text in your pick or whatever. So they did not play Wild Horses or no,
Brown Sugar.
Brunch. But then they went from Can't All Get What You Want, Living in a Ghost Town.
I saw Miss You on there.
Miss You went, Midnight Rambler, and then they went into they closed out with Paint It Black, Sympathy for the Devil, Jumpin' Jack Flash. Then the encore, of course, was the Give Me Shelter, and then they finished with that Can't Get No Satisfaction, where most of the crowd was singing. It was a great show. The energy level again was great. The opening band was Maine. Oh God, Maine. Hold on, I gotta say it right.
I've been listening to that song a few times of theirs. I know who you're talking about.
Main Skin,
Yes.
Italian 4-piece band, and they were good too as a good opener. But it was good. I mean, it wasn't like it was Allegiant is so humongous.
Yes.
That it didn't feel intimate at all. I didn't feel intimate. I didn't feel like again last weekend Delta Spirit, Deer Tick. I was sitting, I was standing right next to the stage. I could grab the set list if I wanted to. It was intimate and it was loud and it was there was just a different sound. And this one, of course, was a little more, it's such a large venue. And obviously, I feel like they toned down the audio a little bit because I think that they assumed that there would be older members of the crowd that are fans as well. I know it sounds weird saying that, but it didn't have that loud. It sounded to me like as if I was sitting on a hilltop watching a band play at a festival. That's how it kind of felt sound wise, which was fine. Because again, when we went down near the stage, it was great to see them. And, the screens were up there too. And you could see, obviously, it was a good, decent view. We were right in the middle. But it wasn't super intimate. Like a lot of shows I've been to where like you could feel, Gary Clark Jr., even if you're not right up against the stage, you can feel like the whole room is just, and maybe that's because it's smaller venue. I think smaller venue just plays that well. This was more an arena rock kind of thing, like a U2 concert or where it's like they are like ants on the stage unless you're like literally on, next to the stage or whatever. But it was kind of cool in the Wing Club too. I didn't spend $82 on 2 vodka Red Bulls, which is good. They beer for like $16, which is terrible. So they had Lagunitas. Had a couple Lagunitas, and there was this old dude in there next to us, and I don't know who he was. I swear to God, I think I saw Clayton Kershaw was in there. Some dude that looked, I thought it was Clayton Kershaw. I took a picture of him. I'm not sure. Looks just like Clayton Kershaw. He was dressed to the nines, and everybody was deferring to him. So he obviously was somebody. But then in our section, we go and we stand, and this is this older dude, like I'd say like in his like early 60s, maybe mid 60s. And he's probably, I don't know if it was his family or who he's with, but he was in charge. He was also in charge. I think he was the guy, the wealthy guy, because it's obviously the Win Club. And to get in there, obviously you're like guaranteed to get a table. It's like minimum $10,000 tab or something like that. So, and maybe for concerts, it might be 50,000. I can't remember. And so he's got buckets of beer in front of him. Obviously he's been taken care of. And I don't know what happened. He just started taking a shining to me. And like when you see the drunk guy and the other drunk guy is like, oh, we're both having a good time. All right. Yeah. Here, bro. Hands me a beer. And next thing you know, like best friends. Like all of a sudden he's by my side the rest of the show. My buddy Michael's like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, I don't know. I got a new friend, I guess. So we're buddies, like high fives. And like, it's just a whole, and everyone, like the people that he was with, they were like, what the hell's going on here? I'm like, I don't know, guys. And he's like, so he just keeps handing me tall boys for the rest of the show. So that was kind of a rad little experience. But that's concerts for you, like it's a communal event, and I'll never see that person again in my entire life, probably, unless I'm watching like a Chris Matthews show or something, or Chris Hansen. But it was just interesting. Again, it was a good show, and I could say they had snapback hats. I was like, sweet, for $45.
Yes.
And t-shirts for $45, sweatshirts for $125. I'm like, holy smokes. So yeah, that probably was like $50. It was so expensive, that stuff was. But
I got my Stone from the last time they were here at Soldier Field. I got my Stone sticker here on my Yeti with my Sox Run Club, created by Luke, by the way.
Correct.
Yes. So,
starting the 108 miles, by the way, starting January 1st,
yes.
108 miles by opening day.
Yep. So, I bought this at the last time they were here in Chicago at Soldier Field. Was it June of 19, I believe it was.
This was cool.
Yes, I've seen them 7 or 8 times.
Oh, wow. This is my first. So that was my check. I got my first and last, I guess.
Yeah. And I've seen them with Bill Wyman when he was still with him. And obviously all the times I've seen him, Charlie Watts was there. R.I.P. Charlie.
Yeah, they did a tribute.
Did they? Good. Justin's asking about the song She's Like a Rainbow. I think the last time that song was played was on a Saturday Night Live episode when Mick Jagger was the host and musical act, and Christine Wiig, it was her last show on Saturday Night Live. And Jagger serenaded her with that song.
That's great.
I think that's the last time it was played because, the one thing about the Stones is the set list is 99% the same every show.
Right.
Every single show. You get some minor variations in there, like the fan song is usually different from show to show. Then you might get one, like Chicago, they usually throw in a blues type song. Just for Chicago, and things like that. So seriously, yeah, I believe so. I know he sang it he serenaded her with it. I want to say she left Saturday Night Live in 2012, and he serenaded her to that. I think that was the last time that I remember them playing it, because they used to play Ruby Tuesday all the time. They hardly ever play it anymore. And to me, Ruby Tuesday is an incredible song live. Absolutely incredible. I mean, there's some standards in every concert I've seen. For example, Start Me Up, Miss You, Can't Always Get What You Want, Midnight Rambler, Jumpin' Jack Flash, Sympathy, Satisfaction. I've seen them every time. Gimme Shelter, they just started doing. For years, they wouldn't do Gimme Shelter.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, they sang that as like the encore, like the closeout.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah.
It's cool though. It's so interesting too. This is so funny. How many times have you heard like "Gimme Shelter" or "Sympathy for the Devil" at an arena at a sporting event that was playing after it was over, like when you're leaving, because that's like industry standard jock jam. And I'm hearing in the stadium like, wait, it's actually them in the stadium. Oh wow, that's weird.
Yeah. Or "Start Me Up" at the beginning of almost every sporting event.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that was funny to me. That was kind of a weird trip. That tripped me out just a tad. I'm like, well, what do they play at a Rolling Stones concert when the concert ends then? Do they play Rolling Stones after Rolling Stones? But
no, they play Jimi Hendrix sometimes, because I've heard him play Jimi Hendrix Woodstock version of the national anthem.
Mm-hmm.
We
had a good national anthem at the Bears game we went to.
Yes.
What's his name from Journey?
Journey? Neil Schon. Yeah, it was Neil Schon playing guitar.
That was a good one.
Yes,
I read that one. That was solid. And
Ludacris doing the halftime show.
Luda.
And Wally chasing after him. Hey, Luda!
And I'm sure he was 100% sober. Actually, that was the day I was actually not. I didn't drink a ton of that Bears game. I'll be honest. I had like a couple beers, but Slipknot after a Stone show. There we go. Yeah.
Yes, that would be awesome.
So, also, entertainment wise, it's been a pretty busy. Last time we've talked, there was a bunch of films that have come out.
Yes.
That are worth kind of talking about too. A couple that I've gotten to see. I know you haven't gotten to see them yet. Did you get to see Eternals yet?
I have not.
Oh, okay. So I guess
I think Yumper wants to talk about Eternals, because I saw something in one of the messages he said something about Eternals.
Oh yeah. He saw it today. I saw that Friday night too. So, but first, I guess we'll go down the list. 2 weekends ago. Now you didn't see Last Night in Soho, did you?
No.
Okay, so you haven't seen either of these as well. Okay, cool.
No.
So last weekend, so not this weekend, but the previous weekend, the films Last Night in Soho by Edgar Wright, the guy who did Baby Driver, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, World's End. Great director, hilarious, really good eye, good music, and the very Steven Soderbergh-esque type director, really good style. Dropped Last Night in Soho, which is kind of like a Sixth Sense meets Cruella. It's the only really way to compare.
Wow.
Very fashion and stylish, but also seeing dead people as a gift. So that came out, and then the new Wes Anderson film, The French Dispatch, which starring a billion people. Everybody's in that one. But that came out as well.
Is there a Bill Murray appearance in there?
He is the lead, I guess you would call it, of the entire film.
Oh, okay.
He's the publisher of The French Dispatch. So the whole film, and I guess we'll talk about that one first. The whole film itself is so interesting. It's Wes Anderson, so it's going to have that. If you're not familiar with Wes Anderson, it's the Royal Tenenbaums, Rushmore.
What was the submarine one?
The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou.
Yes, there you go.
Edgar Wright also directed Scott Pilgrim. Oh, I forgot. Sorry, I showed that in my film study class actually. So when we do our Edgar Wright unit, and so you've got those. In Wes Anderson's film, his with the way his films are done, a lot of times, big Wes Anderson stable is to build a set. So like in Life Aquatic, Steve Zissou, that whole ship is actually built to scale. And half of the ship. So like that is a whole set they built as a ship. So that first shot you've seen at the beginning where they go from like each deck to the level, and they show like the ship from the side where it almost looks like you're looking at an ant farm. That's actually, they built that to scale when they built it. So he likes to do that. He likes to cut through walls. And he does a lot of scenes where both characters face the camera and they don't look at each other, or they look off. And of course the pointing that they like to do. And so very, again, he's got his very specific style and the lens filter that is, really meets it's more of an old throwback to it, like vivid colors. And so this one is told, my favorites, like if you were Vo was in the chat asking what my favorite Wes Anderson flick is, and mine is Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, or Royal Tenenbaums, probably one of those two. I think Royal Tenenbaums I lean more towards, because I actually, as a film critic, I gave it a bad review as a film critic. And it's like my biggest regret as a film critic is that review. I wish I could take it back, because I watched it a second time when I got the Oscar screeners, and I'm like, what was my problem that day? Because it's genius. The film is genius. And so I don't know, what is your favorite Wes Anderson film?
Mine? Yeah. Probably, I would have to say Tenenbaums.
Tenenbaums?
Yeah.
Pete Hackman is so good in that. Like,
yeah. And I just find, which brother is it in that movie?
Owen or Luke?
Luke. I just find Luke with the headband. Luke with the headband just cracks me up every time I see him.
Okay. The tennis player?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, but then they got Owen Wilson dressed up like the cowboy on mescaline. So
yes,
that's a fun one. So the French Dispatch, though, is it's so interesting. He has created this narrative. The film itself starts with an explanation and introduction of the French Dispatch, which is run by Bill Murray's character, who is named Arthur Howitzer. And so he, it's like this whole thing, and he dies suddenly of a heart attack. And so, according to his wishes and his wills, like the last publication, he basically spends his last days putting together the last episode of the issue, because he knows he's going to die. I think he knows he's going to die. So it's like the biggest, most important issue of his life. It's like basically his life work as the last edition or whatever. And so it's a farewell issue. And so, and then 3 articles from past editions are republished along with an obituary. He dies of a heart attack, and his last will and testament is melt all the presses, fire everybody, one last edition, and this is the edition. He had it laid out how he wanted it, plus his obituary. So it's 3 different stories and then an obituary. And it's the narrative itself is told as like pages 2 through 32 is the cycling reporter. And then the next one is page 33. It's like food and beverage or whatever. And it's like revisions to a manifesto. And the next one's the concrete masterpiece. And then the private dining room. So there's like 4 vignettes basically told as an edition, like as a magazine. So these are the articles that were in the magazine that were the best articles that were ever in the French Dispatch, the fictional, of course, publication. And so each story it's a different story. So like you're getting these really weird, quirky stories, which all the actors are different. So one is Owen Wilson, and then the next one is with Benicio del Toro and Brody. And then what's his name? Adam Brody, Adrian Brody. What's the one from The Pianist?
Adrian Brody. Yeah.
And then you've got the next one. It's like a teacher. It's Timothy Chalamet and what's her name? Franz Dorman. And then
Can I say one thing? Timothy Chalamet, I swear to God, it's Brian Billick. I've said it before, and I maintain that. Timothy Chalamet and Brian Billick are like, I'm watching Dune, for God's sakes, and I'm going, it's fucking Brian Billick. What the hell is he doing up there?
So yeah, it's the narratives. It's really cool. The middle one, the revisions to a manifesto, the one with Franz McDormand and Timothy Chalamet is probably the slowest of the 3 or of them. But the one with the concrete masterpiece, the one with Benicio del Toro and Brody and Tilda Swinton, Henry Winkler. Oh, I mean, it's great. It's fantastic. And then the one with Jeffrey Wright. It's called The Private Dining Room of the Police Commissioner. It's Jeffrey Wright, Liev Schreiber, Ed Norton, Willem Dafoe, Saoirse Ronan, and you've got like just so many different. Like again, it tells you different stories, and then of course at the end is the obituary. So like it tells this whole. It's so well done. It's just a really interesting the way that he does the narrative. But again, it's the same way that Wes Anderson likes to do that. He likes to do that with the story. Like the Royal Tenenbaums is a book about a family, right? And it's told in chapters. And, you've got all these different ways to tell a story. And I think that that's a really cool, thing I stressed with my students this week when we talked about how to craft a narrative was that specifically is the story can be the same, but find inventive ways to tell that same story. We're telling the same stories over and over again as a species since the dawn of, history of civilization. And so all we're really doing is retelling it and just changing the names and the exact specifics of the journey, but it's all the same story. And so it's really cool how he does it. I really recommend it. It'll be up for quite a few Oscars. I wouldn't be shocked if it wins an Oscar for at least best original screenplay or more. I mean, best supporting actors. I mean, listen to this. I mean, the cast members. I mean, again, you go through it. You've got Bill Murray, Owen Wilson, Elizabeth Moss, Jason Schwartzman, Fisher Stevens, Griffin Dunn, Wally Wodorowski, Angelica Houston, Tilda Swinton, Benicio del Toro, Adrian Brody, Henry Winkler, Lea Seydoux. I don't know if you know who that is. She's a French actress. I don't know if I said her name right, but I tried to say it. She was in The Last Mystery.
Was she also the one in the Bond movie?
She was. Yes.
Okay.
I
know exactly.
Franz McDormand, Timothy Chalamet, Lina Kudry. You've got Alex Lawther. I don't know if you know who that is, but he was in, I don't know, whatever show he's Rupert Friend, Cecil de France. I don't know that. Christopher Waltz.
Christoph Waltz.
Christoph Waltz. Yes. Jeffrey Wright. Matthew Amalric. I don't know. You recognize him. He's usually a French character. I don't know who that person is. Stephen Park, someone from A Living Color, apparently. I don't know. Lee Schreiber, Ed Norton. Again, just the cast is incredible. Somebody's going to get an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor because I think the entire cast is an ensemble. It's all an ensemble. I doubt if anybody got paid. I'm sure they all did it for free because everyone's got such a small part in it. But it's good. It's worth seeing. And then Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho. Last Night in Soho is specifically about a girl that moves to London to go to the London Fashion School, and she can see dead people. And so she in love with the 60s in London, and that whole scene. And she hates it at her school. So she goes and gets a room at an apartment above this old lady. And the apartment's been around forever. And she starts seeing the story of a girl from the 1960s that was an aspiring musician, singer, performer. And in essence, push comes to shove, a murder occurs. And now she's in the future knowing that she's trying to solve a murder that took place decades prior using the visions and searching everything. And she keeps getting lost in the visions because, of course, she can see dead people. So, it's like a cross between, like I said, it's really stylistic, but it's a cross between, I think, Cruella and like The Sixth Sense because it has that Sixth Sense vibe too, where imagine a really colorful Sixth Sense, like a happy, good soundtrack Sixth Sense. And of course, it has the Edgar Wright typical main character dancing alone, singing the music that they love to establish the personality of the character, just like with Baby Driver. That he's got like an old school sensibility. You see where her sensibilities are based on the music she listens to. And so really good performances by both characters. It's the young lady from Jojo Rabbit that plays the Jewish girl from Jojo Rabbit. And then it's what's her name from The Queen's Gambit? Oh gosh, I always forget her name.
I've never watched Queen's Gambit.
Anna Taylor-Joy. Oh, that's her name. She's gorgeous. And she's really good. She's also in Stir of Echoes too. Yes, Yumper. That's a really good comparison as well. And yes, that whole concept of, again, solving a crime that already occurred to give rest and peace to the. So really stylistic. I recommend it. I can't. My girlfriend, I'm stuck between it because she doesn't like horror films, and it's not necessarily a horror film, but it has some scary moments. I guess at the end, especially the early parts. I mean, the scary stuff really starts about 30 minutes to go in the film. At least by my count. The rest of it's really cool, jumping back and forth between decades. Because she basically sees it from her perspective. So that's kind of neat. And then the last one, of course, was Eternals that came out this weekend. That's the new Marvel one about the Protectors of Earth. So that was fun. I enjoyed it. I mean, it's a Marvel flick. I'd say middle pack, but very beautiful, very multicultural, and very pretty. A lot of really cool visuals. Chloe Zhao is a very, very talented filmmaker, especially with the visuals. And I think that any critical distaste it gets is I think a lot of people didn't like. I think the multiculturalism angered a certain part of the crowd. If you know what I mean, which is weird to me. But a good plot, sets up some stuff, introduces some characters, and it does have I think it's solid. I think again it's deeper. We're talking about a whole nother group of people, these Eternals and the Celestials, who are part of it. Ego, the father from Quill's father in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, he's an Eternal, or not an Eternal, what's it called? Oh God, now I forgot. Ego, but he's Ego the human planet, or Ego the living planet is his name, right? And he's a celestial. What they're called,
celestial. He's a celestial.
Yeah, and so that's basically it. So he introduces that stuff. It's really cool. Again, the characters are fun. And I'll tell you this, for me and my girlfriend, is kind of funny. The 2 end credit scenes are worth sticking around for. They're fantastic. And I'll say this, my girlfriend, the first end credit scene, my girlfriend screamed like a teenage girl at a Justin Bieber show. She was so excited, right? And I was laughing. I'm like, geez, keep it together, right? And so they dropped that, and then
for sure.
And I'm like, you're so silly, right? So you really screamed, like the whole theater could hear you scream, like you were that excited. I'm like, child. And the second end credit scene, and then I screamed like a teenage girl at a Justin Bieber concert because I was so excited. So I literally did the same exact thing my girlfriend did. I was like, because the end credit scene, it was perfectly placed, because it is. It's like the first one is for people that more for like girls that kind of know. Again, I don't know. It's kind of funny. And then the second one was totally for a different type of crowd as well. And like it got us, because I wonder if she like intentionally put it there to make one group scream in the theater on date night, and then what exactly happened with me, where I was like, come on, why do you really gotta scream? And then I'm like, oh my God, what? So I did the same thing. It was really great. But stick around for the end credit scenes. Salma Hayek was great in it too, and I know Yupper loves her. Angelina Jolie is a vision. Every time she's on screen, she's breathtaking to me. And the whole cast is fantastic. It's funny, it's silly, it's worth seeing. Go see it in the biggest, loudest format, as always. But definitely worth recommending. So you're telling me, though, you're going to see a movie here.
I am. Thursday
what are you
night.
going to see this week? Tell me about it, and what are you doing?
I am going to see the newly made director's cut of a 1980s classic, a 1980s Cold War classic. Of course, it can only mean one movie, Rocky IV. That's right. There is a director's cut of Rocky IV called Rocky versus Drago. And supposedly there's like some of the scenes have been reshaped, and there's about 30 to 40 more minutes of film in it, or scenes in it. And I watched a couple of interviews with Stallone on YouTube, and he talked about how he goes back and watches it now, and he's embarrassed because Red Dawn. No, not Red Dawn. Better. Rocky IV, baby. If he dies, he dies. But, there's some, on YouTube, there's some video of Stallone recutting the movie where he talks about what he's doing with it and some of the scenes, how he's reshaping them, using different angles that were available at the time that he just didn't include in the movie. And it looks really, really fascinating. I do highly recommend, if you get the chance, go watch some of the YouTube videos Stallone has put out there for the Rocky versus Drago cut of Rocky IV. So I'll be going to see that Thursday night at in Oak Brook. And okay, wait a second. Oh, did not know that, Yumper. So Yumper saying, little bit of trivia, Stallone originally had Drago get a disease from using steroids, and Rocky visiting him in Rocky Balboa. Very happy that did not happen. I did not know that, but yes, that would sort of be weird. But wasn't it Rocky Balboa that had the first fighter he fights in the original Rocky movie, Spider, sitting in his restaurant, and Rocky's giving him a free meal because Spider is down on his luck. I'm pretty sure it was Rocky Balboa that scene happened in, where Rocky's the restaurant owner now and everything else.
Yeah, he's got the steakhouse.
Yeah. Yes. And was it Spider Rico? I think it was the first boxer he ever fought. he's giving him a free meal, and he says, "God bless you, Rocky." And it's just this weird connection between the two of them. Like, this is the first guy he fights in the original Rocky before he's anything. You know, when Mick's talking about all he fights is bums and everything else, and then he's feeding the guy in Rocky Balboa. And yes, Justin, Oakbrook 12. It is there Thursday night, 7 p.m. And last time I looked, it looked like it was close to being sold out. So if you're interested in going, you might want to get out there and get tickets sooner rather than later. And supposedly it's only being shown Thursday night at 7 p.m. But
kind of like sure, they did those limited engagement. They did the Rolling. They did I want to say Rolling. It was Rolling Stones. No, the Doors. They did the Doors. They did a Doors live concert.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah, I saw the advertisement for it
at the what's it called, the Hollywood Bowl or whatever. And they did that. It was like a one night only thing on a Thursday. They do that on those Thursdays. I'm actually gonna pull up right now to see if it's gonna be at my place.
Yeah.
Nope. Cliff is the big red dog though. Hey, all right. American Sniper. Yeah. Okay. Why?
It's at the AMC Oakbrook 12. Yes.
And you know what, too? This is. I don't know if you guys have. As a teacher, I'm excited because I have a 4-day weekend coming up. So I have no school on Thursday for Veterans Day, and then we have Friday off as well. We're about to start what we call No School November. How my schedule is gone. Last week I had a 4-day week. This week was a 5. Next week's a 3, and then the week after that's a 5, and then the week after that's a 2.
And then a 2 Thanksgiving week.
Thanksgiving. Usually we get the whole. We used to get the whole week off for Thanksgiving, but now we have to go Monday and Tuesday, which nobody's there. Everyone's already
boo fucking who.
Everyone's traveling, so it's like it's movie time anyway. That's where we're gonna be watching Ghostbusters. It's like literally, I'm gonna try and bait these kids into showing up to school just so they can watch Ghostbusters.
And to Justin, yes, I know the Stan's Donuts is there, but I prefer that make your own pizza place there.
Oh, so you guys get better food there. Ooh.
Yeah.
We have McGuffin's, the bar, which is great. That's
what because the Oakbrook that he's talking about, the theater we're talking about, is also an AMC. So they do have a McGuffin's, but you have a little food court right outside of it.
Oh, that's nice.
And there's a Greek kitchen. I can't think of the name of the Mexican food there, but there's a Stan's Donuts. There's one of those pizza places where you can pick your own ingredients and they make it for you. So there's like a variety of different things. There used to be more there, but obviously COVID impacted some of the restaurants that were there, and they have since shut down. But yes, it is at the Oakbrook 12.
Nice. That'll be good. I think you'll enjoy that too.
Yes. Because the scary thing, I remember going to see Rocky IV Thanksgiving Eve, 1985, at the Ford City Cinema. And the original Rocky IV is like 90 minutes long. It's a really short movie. And this one clocks in at over 2 hours now. So there's a lot more there. Yeah. I'm hoping we get extended Frank Stallone music throughout the movie.
Gosh, isn't it weird too? Like in the same calendar year, both Frank Stallone and Norm Macdonald passed away. Considering the bit. Didn't Frank Stallone just pass away last year?
I'm not sure.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
Or did Frank still? Is he still alive?
No, I don't think so.
He died. I thought he died. Did Frank Stallone die? I thought Frank Stallone died.
I don't think so. Let me see.
I don't know.
No, it says he's still alive. 71 years old.
I don't know why I thought that Frank Stallone died. Wow.
That's according to Wikipedia.
Yeah, he's alive. Oh, he's alive. Yeah. Weird. Why did I think Frank Stallone died? I made a bunch of Frank Stallone died jokes. Wow. Those were off-putting. Really off-putting now in hindsight. Yeah. So I feel bad. Oh boy. Anyway, yeah. So that'll be cool, dude. I again, those kind of experiences are great at the theater.
Yes.
I remember seeing not Django. I saw The Hateful Eight in 70 millimeter at AMC here. Because I've told you about this in the past. We have a projector. The one at the AMC here is one of 4 projectors in the country that has the capabilities, the 8K and the 120 frames per second, and the digital, all that.
The Crestwood AMC has that as well, because that's where I went and seen Hateful Eight for the same reasons. Yep.
70 millimeter shot, same on that film too. It was actually 70 millimeter projection. Really cool stuff. I love when they do that though. Those are fun things to do. And, the one here is actually kind of funny. our AMC, I don't know if yours does this in Chicago, but our AMC down at Town Square on Sundays, it reserves 3 theaters in the mornings, and you can watch NFL games.
Yes, it does that here too.
So rad. I've done that a few times where I'm like, and you pay $10 if you're, because you have to be on their stubs list, but you pay $10 and it's a food credit though. So you're really going to watch the movie with the game for free, but you're committing to spend $10 at the snack bar. And so you have a $10 credit at the snack bar. So it's $10, but you're going to eat popcorn or hot dogs or whatever during the game, which is great because it's about a popcorn and a drink anyway.
Yep.
So that's fun stuff. Another movie that came out, I don't know if you got to watch it yet. It's on Netflix. It's called The Harder They Fall, and it's I've
heard of it. I haven't watched it.
It's great. It's a Western, all black cast. And it's with, the cast is fantastic. Idris Elba, Zazie Beetz, Regina King, Jonathan Majors, who's just blowing up right now. He's in everything. He's Kang the Conqueror. He was on Bridge. What's it called? Hutchcraft County or whatever it is, I forgot. Or whatever it is. And so Lakeith Stanfield. R.J. Seiler, who I love, for Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. One of my favorite Sundance films that I saw at Sundance was Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, and he's Earl. He's awesome in this. Delroy Lindo, who's the man. He's been in everything. Eddie Gathady. Just the cast is great, and it's fun. It's a Western, and it's got all these different characters. Damon Wayans Jr.'s in it for a second, too, which is funny. But it's very gory, all gunfights and just some real fun stuff. And if you got Netflix, it's worth it. Narcos Mexico season 3, I think, came out a couple days ago. And tonight, first episode of Dexter. Lovecraft Company, or Lovecraft Country. That's right. H.P. Lovecraft. That's what I couldn't think of it. I was like, Hutchcraft? No, it's Ron Hutchcraft. That's totally different. But yeah, so tonight there's the first new episode of Dexter since the series finale of him driving his tugboat into a tornado or a hurricane or whatever. So I'm going to be hitting that as soon as we get off here, actually. But
good for you.
Anything else? You see anything new? Or
no, I'm obviously waiting for the new Ghostbusters. I saw a preview when I went and seen Dune, and it looks incredible. The Matrix preview looked incredible. I can't wait to see that. Obviously, West Side, the Steven Spielberg West Side Story. Because I've already purchased a ticket to see I guess I am a billboard for Fathom Events, but I did purchase a ticket to see the Fathom Events screening of the original West Side Story, like 2 weeks before the new one comes out. And to be honest with you, and I'm really going to sound like a dork when I say this, so I have to burn a couple of vacation days before the end of the year. And I still I have some money left in my HSA account. So I'm going to see the eye doctor, and I have a dentist appointment. So I'm basically lining those all up on the same day, and then going to see the new West Side Story when it opens up on December 10th. You
should go get, if your mouth's not destroyed. Oh yeah. 8-bit is great. I showed that to my, that trailer to my students the other day. You should, if you can chew, you should go get some Puerto Rican food somewhere before you go see West Side Story.
That is true.
Go full out,
yes.
Get some delicious Puerto Rican fare.
And I have to tell you this joke that I pulled the other day. Beef Loaf, has his fascination with betting on the Jets.
Uh-huh.
And I just told him, I go, I guess when you're a Jet till the end, from your first cigarette till your last dying day. But
went there.
Sadly, I don't think he got the reference. Like I said, sadly, I don't think he got the reference.
But he would have gotten a McRib reference.
You bet your ass he would.
There's 8-bit. Spo brings up 8-bit it's called 8-Bit Christmas. It's a movie that trailer just came out. Actually, Neil Patrick Harris is a dad telling a story about his quest as a young boy to get his first Nintendo. And it's it's all revolves around getting a Nintendo, which is 100% the exact age that I was when I was wanting it. Now I didn't have to go on a park-esque style, Lord of the Rings journey to get one. I got lucky. My parents, I didn't have it at first, but then I had a friend, Paul, and everyone goes to Paul's house because Paul had a Nintendo. Everyone goes to Paul's house. Mm-hmm. And then we go, and then finally my parents were like, okay, I'm tired of you going over to Paul's house. We're going to get you one here. And then that way you can stop, you can hang out at the house for a little bit. I'm like, okay. So they got me that. So I remember that it was kind of a joke at my birthday. We were at a place called Flaky Jake's, which is basically a Fuddruckers. But it was called Flaky Jake's. Same exact thing though. And for my birthday present, I opened up my first present and it was baseball. It was Nintendo baseball cartridge. It was the game. And I'm like, you guys are dicks. They're like, what? I'm like, I don't have a Nintendo. They're like, oh, we thought you had one. So sorry. I'm like, the fuck? Turns out the other gift was the Nintendo. Like, so they were messing with me, of course. And so yeah, I'm screaming in Flaky Jake's like I screamed at the end of the credit scene at Eternals. And I was all happy and I went home and played baseball a lot. And then of course, Nintendo, of course. But the game itself, it's great. There's a dude, it looks like a dude's wearing a power glove at one point. Looks like a funny little trailer. So check out the trailer. It's called 8-Bit Christmas. Looks really good. Looks funny. I showed it to my students. They were laughing. They're like, that was you? I'm like, yeah, that was basically me as a kid. So sorry. Not sorry. Anyway. Well, if you don't have anything else, I mean, this is a good one. We talked a little bit about the Soxers and we talked some Bears. Do you have a prediction for tomorrow night's game? You have like Bears are, by the way, +7. So I'm thinking I'm taking +7.
I'm taking the Steelers because I just don't trust the Bears to put a quality product on the field. I know how horrible that sounds, but it's to the point where to me it's reached a sad point where I prefer they lose out because then you have no reason to keep Nagy and Pace. And it pisses me off that I feel that way, to be honest with you, because I don't want to see them like finish 8 or 9-8 this year because, it's 17 games instead of 16 and they squeak into the playoffs and lose the first round. Because last year, part of the reason that Nagy and Pace didn't lose their jobs is because they made the playoffs 2 out of 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you're accepting mediocrity, which is what drives me nuts. You're the charter franchise of the fucking NFL, and this is the shit you're putting on the field.
Yeah. Well, there's a positive and negative to everything. I hate. I can't ever bring myself to hate to lose. So
I totally understand that. Why do you think I'm mad with myself? Because unfortunately, I feel like the only way that you can really affect change with this team is for them to lose.
Yeah.
And I hate
sauce. I'm taking solace. It's a win-win situation for me.
Yeah.
If they lose, it's a win technically. If they win, it's a win.
Yes. And I think Yumper said it best. You need them to lose and not make the playoffs while Justin develops. But my concern with that is if Justin develops, then you change coaches, you're setting his development back because you're going to have to re-educate him on a new system and everything else. Right. I thought they should have shit-canned everybody at the end of last season. But to another point, who's going to replace them? Who's making the decisions to replace them? It's the same clown car that happened last time. Are they going to go out and get the guy from the New York Giants, Ernie Accorsi, to lead their search? What kind of fucking sense does that make? How fucking embarrassing. Honestly.
I'm just looking at this game. I'm talking about embarrassing. The Rams get embarrassed tonight too.
Yeah, I have it on off screen and I've been looking every so often. Stafford didn't look great. Stafford looked more like the Detroit Stafford that we know and love.
Right. That was Detroit Stafford tonight. I snuck away in a fantasy league week this week too, but God, I clinched the playoff spot already in my big money league. I'm in first place. I'm so high up. I'm 8-1 now, and this is the big money league. So this is the big one, and I'm 8-1 now at this point. Even though I lost Derrick Henry, I still threw up the highest point total this week, in spite of losing Derrick Henry. So happy with that. Dak Prescott he gave me a little bit of a scare today, but looking good. And Matt Gay kicked a lot of field goals tonight, so that helps.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, even better. All right, but that was So tomorrow night should be fun. We'll enjoy the game. I'm ordering. You know what? And it's been 6 months probably. It's time. I'm gonna stick with some tradition. Usually it's a regular tavern, but tomorrow night I'm gonna order. I'm trying to decide if I want to go with Gio. Again, I have a Giordano's about 2 miles from my house, and we have a Rosati's about 2 miles from my house. I don't have anything else. The other place here, Amore, a Taste Chicago, is okay, but it's oodles below either of those two, and those two are like basically like back home chains. Mm-hmm. So I'm deciding. Maybe I'll do a poll. Should I order Giordano? Maybe I'll leave it up on Twitter starting tonight. Should I eat Giordano's or should I have Rosati's deep dish tomorrow night? Because I'm gonna go deep dish Italian sausage tomorrow night for the Bears game. That's why we wanted to do this too. I want to eat them.
Okay, I'm gonna give you something I get from Giordano's occasionally, and I know it'll fly in the face of a lot of people. A deep dish pepperoni and pineapple pizza.
Whoa. Interesting. Because I know they do the extra layers of cheese, right? They do 2 layers of cheese as opposed to just one. So that's on the factoring in. And
just
they're so close. It'll be hot when I get it, which I love.
Yeah, but the pepperoni and pineapple really offset each other quite well.
That's interesting.
Yes. Yumper. No.
No.
I'm telling you, don't knock it till you try it.
I don't mind pineapple. Hey, I'm not a snob. Pineapple and Canadian bacon, I'm good with that too. Or in Canada, as they just call it,
bacon.
So I don't mind it at all.
No, it's not bacon in Canada. It's bacon, eh?
Bacon, eh? And I actually like jalapenos on my pizza too sometimes. Pepperoni and jalapeno is fantastic. Sometimes.
Yeah, and Justin, barbecue chicken deep dish, not a bad choice either.
That's good. Yeah. So I'm gonna put up a poll then tonight. So I'm gonna put the poll up. I'm gonna do a poll. Well, next week you'll see some pictures.
Yeah, and I'll say one thing that I truly missed at the ballpark this year is only in one section, in one stand, did they have the barbecue chicken pizza from Beggars.
Ooh.
It was behind the left field seats in like 163 in the Beggars stand, but they didn't have it this year, and it pissed me off.
Yeah, barbecue chicken pizza is good.
Yes.
So we'll watch Bears game. I will contribute closer to diabetes and try. Look, hey, I've actually been really good. I've been like dieting a little bit less, more, whatever. So it's my cheat. Although today was kind of a cheat day. Uber Eats gave me a $30 coupon. So during football today, I just ordered Buffalo Wild Wings. I was like, nah.
Nice.
That's the only thing I ate today. So I just spread it out. I just 2 sittings of wings. Cold wings are good.
I ate a shitload of wings and rings yesterday because we were there for the Jeff Blum and Chris Widger signing. And so it was Korean shrimp, barbecue chicken quesadillas, and of course, pretzel bites and queso.
Mm-hmm. You know who really loves the shrimp there?
Who?
Sammy Davis Jr. 5000 loves the shrimp at BWRs. He should actually be their spokesperson. To be honest.
I love it too. It's phenomenal.
He loves it so much. He's just a huge fan of it. He's a shrimp aficionado, really.
And we ran into Senior Socks when we were walking out, so we had to stop and pose for pictures. And also, I'll say this. I asked Jeff Blum point blank if the story about Juan Uribe was true in the hotel in New York. If you don't know this story, I suggest you go to YouTube, type in Joe Colley, Juan Uribe, and listen. And Jeff Blum confirmed every part of this story is true. If you have not listened to it yet, go listen to it.
Oh, so that's good. Your mom's coming with some Jack in the Box tomorrow. I had Jack in the Box the other night. Those little mini tacos are heavenly. I'm on your birthday. I will go there. I will totally go and get the order. I have it actually set into my reminders to go on your birthday. Was it December 3rd? I think it is. I will go and have Jack in the Box in your honor. But other than that, though, it's been a good week, man.
Yes.
We've got a lot of stuff coming up this week as far as, we've got Veterans Day. So, hopefully we'll, it's not just a day off of work. It's a day to honor those that have, those that have served. Let's remind our audience that it's Veterans Day. It's not Memorial Day.
Yes.
Okay. So this one is to honor everybody that served, has served, is serving. They're not dead. This one's the one for the live,
Yes.
public servants as well. So let's honor all.
Just walk up and say thank you. That's all you need to do. Just walk up and say thank you.
Give them a thanks. But obviously we still will remember those that have given their lives. But this one's about the ones that are currently giving of their lives. So make sure we give them a lot of love. If you've got a family member that served, we appreciate them and thank you. Thanks. Give them our thanks for it as well. But all right. But other than that, guys, appreciate you tuning in, and we'll be back next week again for a live. And other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I know Pete does as well. And
yes.
Pete, got last thoughts, and then you can take us on out. But
yes, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you everyone for watching us, providing some commentary. Your comments are truly appreciated, more than you could ever imagine. If you have some ideas for the show, do not hesitate to send me a direct message, send KFidds a direct message, send both of us. Tell us we're great. Tell us we suck. We can take it. Probably if you tell us we suck, we'd probably believe you more than if you tell us we were great. But anyway, just remember, be nice to everyone. I know there's a lot of toxicity going on right now in the world, so let's just try and be nice to everyone. With Veterans Day coming up, just go up to someone and say thank you. That's all. You don't have to buy them lunch or dinner or anything else. Just acknowledge them and say thank you. And with that, have a great week, everyone. Aloha.